Okay, I think we'll get going. I'm sure I'm gonna let in a few more people as we go along. So if you see me glancing to the side, that's because I'll click approve. Yeah, we'll get going. So a warm welcome to this live webinar on legal nurse consulting marketing. And my name is Dan Mortimer. I'm the founder of Performance Laws, and I'm also the founder of the creator of the contact cultivation system. And you'll find out a little bit more about me, but a whole lot more about the system that we use later on in this presentation. First of all, I want to thank you for signing up. And if you're attending live, thank you so much for dialing in and listening to me, spending 1 hour on a Friday, just before a big weekend as well. So we do appreciate that. We know that you are busy and there's a lot of things that you could do with your time. And hopefully you will find this useful. It's a jam-packed presentation. We've got a lot of stuff for you, and there's more long-term information that you can implement, but there's also a lot of immediate actionable items that you can put to work and hopefully produce some results. If you have any questions, then you can put them in the chat function. I've sent you all a message there. Write any questions as we go along. I'll be speaking for about 45 minutes, and then there'll be about 10-15 minutes at the end, depending on how long I go, where we can deal with the Q&As. If you want to ask a question live, you can do so as well. All you have to do is just raise your hand or comment in the chat function, and I'll unmute you because all of the lines are centrally muted. So I think that's it by way of intro. Final thing, make sure that you stay until the end, because we have a lot of information that's coming at the end of the webinar. And there will also be a special offer for those of you who signed up for it and those of you who attend live. So I think that's pretty much it. If you see my mouth moving and you can't hear me right now, then please let me know. But I think audio and video should be fine. So let's look at the agenda. So the first thing that we'll talk about is the most common marketing mistakes legal nurse consultants make. And we see a lot of similarities here. There are a lot of things that people end up doing that don't produce the results that they want. So we're going to dissect that, if you will. And secondly, we'll look at how you can immediately start implementing activities that can generate results, real tangible results. And I'll tell you about what I mean with tangible results on the next slide. Then we'll look at some client use cases and success stories, because I think it's one thing to hear me talk, but it's an entirely different thing just to see what others are doing and how they are producing results, your peers effectively. Then we'll get to the special offer for those of you who signed up for the webinar and attended the webinar. And then at the end, there'll be Q&A. As you can see, there's a lot that we need to get through. So I'm going to move reasonably swiftly and not linger too much on each and every slide. I do have a habit of talking a lot, so I have to contain myself. So all of you will obviously stay until the end. So at the end, you're going to be able to make an informed decision on whether you thought this was useful or not, and hopefully you will find it useful. But if you want to hear it from me directly, why I think you should listen to this, here are 4 key points. Number 1, our clients are using the techniques that we'll go through today with the success today. Often, legal nurse consulting marketing advice is quite dated and incomplete. So that's an important point. It needs to be current. Proven is the second point. Our clients are getting tangible results today. And by tangible, I mean more business, more clients, more cases, not something else. Not that more website views or more LinkedIn views or more LinkedIn connections aren't helpful, because they are helpful, but they're generally not helpful in terms of driving direct tangible results. So you always want to make sure that if you want to get someone's advice, you want to work with someone, that they are able to demonstrate that what they are telling you actually is working today for a lot of people in your position and that is working well and that it's tangible results. 3, effective. So our clients can minimize the time and effort spent to drive these positive results, because all of our clients are busy, and I'm sure that you are busy with your business, maybe with a day job, and all of these things. Those are just business matters. We all have family to deal with. So all of these things will take time, which means that you don't have 24 hours per day to spend on business development. So it needs to be effective. And then finally, relevant. So our clients are legal nurse consultants. We're not a marketing company that works with restaurant owners or app developers. Everything that you see here will work for legal nurse consultants. So just a couple of words about me and my company. So I spent over 20 years in sales, advisory, and consulting positions, providing advanced services to sophisticated target audiences. I started performance law 6 years ago. So everything that we do is effectively geared towards more complex services and more sophisticated audiences. We've worked in a dedicated way with clients that focus on attorneys for these 6 years. So this is what we do. This is the space that we know. And we work with clients all over the world. We work with hundreds of clients. At present, it's about 200 that are in our various programs. Here's me doing a presentation in person, but obviously most of the things that we do are online. So here's me again speaking to some of our clients on one of our regular group Zoom calls. Enough about me and my company. Now let's talk about you. So one thing I want to sort of make sure that you think about as we go through this presentation is, what is it that you really want? And what are your goals? Because often talking about clients and cases and money, that's just the stuff that we have at the surface. But what are the underlying drivers? Is it that you want to leave your day job? Are you still nursing? Do you want to start your own company? Do you already have your own company? You want to grow that? Do you want to be location independent? Is this a question of getting a second stream of income? What is it that's important to you? I think that's really important to keep in mind or be aware of. And I'll give you an example here. One of our clients, John is his name, not Jim. One of our clients, John, he lives in the US. We started working together, it's probably 2.5, 3 years ago. And when we first spoke, he told me that, Dan, what I want to do, my goals, my wants, I want to move outside of this big city with my wife. I want to move to the US because they were centrally in the US. I want to move to the East Coast, small town. I want to start working more remotely. And I want us to be able to spend more time with our daughter. And perhaps sometime in the future, maybe I can even do more sailing. I can work from my boat. And now, 2.5, 3 years later, when we look at John, they have made that move. So they live on the East Coast. They live in a small town, and they have access to nature. They have access to the ocean, and their lifestyle is just completely different. Fantastic. And they've even bought a plot of land close to where their daughter lives in Arizona. And now they're considering buying or building a small house. The only thing that we haven't done yet is the boat. We haven't really gotten to the boat part, but we hope to be able to do so soon. So just think about what it is that you want to achieve. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of things here. So what is it that most legal nurse consultants struggle with? Well, in our experience, working with a lot of LNCs and speaking with even more LNCs, is these 3 things: insufficient clients and cases, ebbs and flows in case generation. Sometimes you're really busy on a case, and then next, a long time goes by before you can get a second case. And number 3, lack of marketing knowledge. And we're going to be addressing all of these points here today. But it can feel like a bit of a maze because you don't really know well, staying with the maze analogy, you don't really know whether you want to go into this maze, whether you should be walking because it's a long way, so you need to conserve your energy, if you're going to be jogging or if you're going to be sprinting out of it. So all of those things are, I guess, directly applicable on business development, because you don't really know which activities that will produce results, like those real tangible results. And what ends up happening very often is that legal nurse consultants will try a lot of different things. Some of these things may be effective things, but the way that they are implemented or the duration of those efforts will never really lead to any tangible results. And this could be setting up a LinkedIn profile, connecting with people on LinkedIn, sending out postcards to attorneys, baking cakes. It could be any number of different things, getting your website. And like I said, all of these things may be helpful, but they may not be direct drivers for business. And we see different types of approaches to this. Some just jump from activity to activity. And this is kind of like the shiny object approach. Like, okay, I heard someone say something about how search engine optimization is good. I need to do that now. And then someone else, a friend or a competitor, tells you that, oh, it's really good to have like branded giveaways. Okay, so now let me focus on getting pens that I can give away at the next conference, and jumping from activity to activity. That type of fragmented approach is really tricky to get results with. And I think it also comes down to the fact that good information is really hard to come by. So what you're left with is really like listening to your peers or listening to experts. I would caution with listening too much to peers, because you don't really know their situation. You don't really know how busy they are and what they're doing if you're getting the full story. It's like social media. It's on Facebook and Instagram and on TikTok. It's a version of the truth. It's an enhanced version of the truth, but it may not be the actual truth. So if you base your entire marketing and business development effort on what you see your competitors and your peers doing, might not be the best way of going about things. And when it comes to experts, there's so many self-proclaimed experts, and there's also a lot of experts that are really good at what they do, but what they are good at has no direct benefit for you as a legal nurse consultant. Because just because you are a lead generator, it doesn't mean that you understand how to approach attorneys. So this is why, these are some of the reasons for why we're doing this webinar today, because I want to share with you a lot of what's working for our clients. And speaking of clients, I want to introduce you to one of our clients. Karen was supposed to be live on this webinar, but unfortunately she was unable to join. And what we did instead was a short interview. So I just split that interview into 3 parts. I'm going to show you those 3 parts today here in this presentation. The reason why I think you should listen to Karen is because she's not only talking the talk, she's actually walking the walk. She has built a very successful legal nurse consulting practice, and she's not done it overnight by some gimmicky things or by a moonshot. She's done the hard work. She's tried to do things that hasn't worked out. She's learned from those experiences, and she's continuously improved, and she's done really well. We worked together for a little while now, and without further ado, let me introduce you to Karen here. Hopefully, the audio is going to be good here so that you can hear everything. All right, everybody. So as I mentioned, we have a very special guest on the webinar today. Unfortunately, Karen couldn't be with us in person. Karen is a long-standing client of ours. And if you want to find out more about Karen and her successful business and the journey that we had together, then you can go and watch the YouTube interview that we did. But today we only have a few minutes, so I'm going to just ask Karen some questions. But first, Karen, okay. Sorry that you couldn't be with us live
I'm
today.
so sad too, but hello, LNCs out there. I just had to say hi. And man, for every one of you that are here today, I am so excited you're stepping into this journey with Dan, because man, it changed my life. So so for all of you who are here, who are looking or who are interested, I'm super excited you guys are here.
Fantastic. Maybe we'll get you on a live webinar sometime in the future.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
Super. All right. So Karen, as I mentioned, I've got 3 questions for you.
Yes.
And the first one, and this is based on, conversations that we've had, conversations that I have, and you alluded to it before we press the record button here. What are some of the common mistakes that you see legal nurse consultants make when it comes to trying to launch their business or just trying to get more business?
Gosh, if I have to kind of narrow it down to a few, because you gave me some time constraints,
Yeah, I'm
Dan,
sorry about that.
which is tough.
Usually when we speak, it's 50 minutes
I
like
know.
this.
We typically have a long time. I think probably for me, first and foremost, and I'm just going to come from personal experience on all of this, is first of all, thinking it's going to be easy, and just kind of listening to all the chatter that was out there. It's just coming in, we're all excited. You take a course or you don't take a course. You think you know how to be an LNC, right? And you know how to do the actual work, but who teaches you marketing? And you just get out there and you just kind of watch what other people are doing, or you just kind of have an idea that sounds good, or you're like, do I need to go like be on YouTube more? Do I need to do this? You're watching all these influencers out there and we even have some in the LNC world that kind of have that influencer feel of like, hey, look, here's my new car, my new home. You can do it too if you're an LNC. And I think that we just don't understand how difficult it is to get clients, and we have no real system to do it. And so you watch, you try creative things. And then when you don't get results, quite honestly, you're like, this is hard. I want to quit.
Yeah.
And you and I were just talking how I've just gotten emails and messages from LNCs who literally are just completely dejected. And they're like, I don't want to do this. I've tried hard. Some have worked as subcontractors for other LNCs and had bad experience. And the only reason they're being subcontractors is because they can't find their own clients.
Yeah. And
they don't want to work for another LNC. That's one piece of it, is like, how do you do it? What's the system? We're not experts at marketing, I think. For me, the second big piece is I underestimated the sophistication of our audience, to be honest.
Interesting.
Attorneys are a very sophisticated audience. And I remember when we first talked and you were talking about that, and you hear me say, well, we're not, I say it now, we're not selling ice cream. You're not going to Instagram selling some shoes. Attorneys are not impulse buyers. And this is a relationship business, and it takes time. And how do you cultivate those relationships? And I think this ties into the third biggest mistake I see is like being too pushy and salesy. Yeah. And I was on a phone call the other day with an attorney, and I'm just like, hey, he was a busy guy. He's in Miami, and he runs a big firm. And I'm like, so what made you take time, like for me, like for special me, in your busy schedule? And he said, it was an email you sent. He's like, you said right away, like, I don't want to be another pitch slap in your day. And he said, I laughed so hard about that, because he said, that's all I do is get pitch slapped, right? Yeah. Whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's anywhere else. He said, there's so many LNCs who are just pitch slapping me. And he said, you came right out and said, I'm not going to hold you hostage on this phone call, and I'm not going to pitch slap you, but you look awesome. I know my team and I are awesome. We got to talk. And he said, just the way you came across, I had to have a phone call. But I think it's taken me a while to kind of transition into that feeling, because I was that pitch slap person, like, ooh, I need this. I need your business. I need your business.
Sure.
So I think that's a big mistake too, in that you have to understand our audience. It takes time. You have to build that relationship. You almost have to act like you don't want their business for them to want your business. So I think those are all things that coming into this and in the time with Trifecta and doing all of that, I think looking at it now, I'm just like, to me, those are some of the biggest mistakes.
Fantastic. I mean, that's super concise, and it's what I hear too in all of my conversations. All right, so that was, you heard it straight from Karen, and sorry about that lag on the video, but at least audio was good. If you want to find out more about Karen, and if you're interested in more information, you can just around business development, you can watch our YouTube interview. So just go to our website, performancelaws.com, and then click in the upper hand menu. There's a YouTube link. Click that, and this will be one of the first videos. Some of the key takeaways from that interview with Karen is similar to what she outlined here, actually, in this video, that having a structure and an effective system and techniques is really important for getting results. Nurturing attorney contacts isn't easy because they're demanding and it's challenging to do so, and it requires patience. One other thing that I think Karen might mention later on in the presentation is that you don't have to do everything yourself, because you are already busy. And if you need to do all of the marketing yourself, then you might simply not have time for it. So there's ways to address that, which we'll talk about here today. So just looking at this, like, what is it that decides how successful you will be in terms of speed of success? It really comes down to whether you have existing clients or not. I got this question from someone recently, and you know, if you have existing clients today, then usually you're able to get more business from them and more business from others relatively quickly. If you have no clients and you just need to get new clients, then it will take time because you need to develop relationships. Sometimes it still happens pretty quickly and immediately, but I think it's just prudent to have a more long-term approach and a more patient approach to that. So what is this system that I talk about then, the contact cultivation system? Where here is really the schematics and outline of that system. And don't be concerned about if it looks a little bit complicated, because I'll walk you through this here on the next few slides. The most important thing is that it consists of two parts: relationships and network, and visibility. Those are the two key areas for obtaining more clients and cases. To implement the system and maintain it doesn't really take more than 15 to 30 minutes per day. So we're not talking about hours and hours here and sitting the full weekend at home and doing this when you really want to spend time with your family or walk your dog. So it doesn't take long if you do it the right way. For visibility, let me just explain that there's two parts to that. And visibility, the definition of visibility is all of the places on and offline where you and your business will be visible. So it can be your LinkedIn profile, could be your website, could be your blog, could be you speaking at an event. All of those things are visibility oriented. For most of us, visibility is a supporting effort. As in, we put content out there and we show ourselves, and that helps us stay top of mind. But generally, it will not get us direct business. That's the easiest way of approaching it, because that way you don't need to think about, oh, how often do I need to post on LinkedIn? I only got 2 likes on my post. You know, what did I do wrong? What do I need to change? If you think about it as a supporting effort, then it's going to be much easier to maintain. You just consistently put content out there. Doesn't have to be every day. You know, once a week would be ideal. And if it's a little bit less, it's not the end of the world. If you really like this stuff, then it can become a direct driver. Because if you're really good at producing content and you're really good at, you know, you have your own podcast, your own YouTube channel, your own TV or on radio, or one of those or a combination of them, and you're doing it well and it's producing results, then there's absolutely no reason for you not to do that. But if you come in to this starting out, then your expectation shouldn't be this, and the requirements and the obligations that you put on yourself shouldn't be this. It should be as a supporting effort, and then that may evolve over time. So the heart of our system and the heart of our business gets generated is through relationships. That could be for new contacts and for existing contacts. The way we structure this in our cultivation system is through 4 pillars. The initiation of a contact, the cultivation and nurturing part, the preservation and leverage once you have a business relationship, and then activity implementation, because you can have the best system in the world, but if you don't do anything with it, then you're still not going to get results. So you need to implement the activities. So for new contacts, what we really want to do is start with initiation. The way you do that is just define who your audience is. What type of attorneys will you be able to get business from? The next step is to determine where to find them. So are you able to find them online and or offline? It's very, very likely that that's the case. So you can use LinkedIn, you can use Google search, but you could also meet them at industry events. Maybe you can speak at bar association events. So there's a lot of different ways and places where you can find your audience. So once you know who your audience are, you know where to find them, then you can determine how to approach them. If it's on LinkedIn, okay, then you approach them with a connection message. And what do you put in that connection message? The messaging becomes important. If you want to send something physically to them, what do you send? What kind of communication is it? If you go to a conference, how do you structure the prep work before you go? And what do you do when you're there? So all of these things will help you initiate that contact. But where most people go wrong is they put all the effort on this. Maybe they come across an email list and they basically blast everybody. Hey, do you need a legal nurse consultant? Keep me in mind. And then they say, I sent that to 1,000 people. No one responded. Well, I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't respond. Like, all of us are inundated with these kind of things every day. And I think if you just look at yourself, I'm pretty sure that you don't respond to all of these people that want your business, whether they approach you via email or LinkedIn or some other way. So this stage is just the first stage. The bulk of your effort is the cultivation and nurturing part, and no one talks about that. That comes down to doing the right thing, because as Karen said, if you remember, you don't want to be pushy, salesy, or needy. So it's about continuous effort, but it's also about patience. And ultimately, it's about staying top of mind. You just want to be continuously there. So when they do have that need, you're going to be the one that they think of. It might be that when you make that first contact, they say, oh, wow, we have just a case now. We really need someone. And that's amazing. But for the vast majority, you will have to do this if you know how to. Then we have contact preservation. And effectively what that is once you know someone, you're able to make the most of that relationship. You can get more business. You can get new business through them. And then we have the implementation. That comes down to what you do yourself, what you can have others do for you. There are people that can help you with a lot of this work. And you can also use like processes and systems, and to some extent also automation. And it doesn't have to be complicated at all. It's just a way for you to manage all of this while you get on with your job and you spend time with your family. You're still going to have to allocate time, of course. Otherwise, it won't happen. But we're not talking about hours and hours. For existing contacts, We just skip the contact initiation part. Apart from that, it's all the same. We need to stay top of mind. We need to leverage and preserve those relationships, and we still need to implement. So I want to share some client success stories with you here, and you can see pillar 1 and 2. So if you recall those 4 pillars that I showed you, these are the contact initiation and the cultivation pillars. So here's one client. She had 2 success stories that she posted on quite recently. So the first one, she basically reached out to an attorney and made a perfect connection immediately from scratch. They had a conversation and she started working on a case for him. That was done via mail, good old traditional post. The second example is her working LinkedIn. So she connected with 2 attorneys and had 2 calls, and those are now 2 strong potential candidates for obtaining cases. And the great thing about this is once you make that connection where you can work with someone or you have worked with someone, there's usually more cases to be had. So it's well worth that effort. Here's another example of a client that saw a LinkedIn post from an attorney and reached out to them via email. And they did in such a way as to gain the attention of that attorney. They used a pretty cool subject line, "Yo hablo español," because that was linked to what the attorney was posting on LinkedIn. And this led to business for our client. Again, still at pillar 1 and 2 here. So these are all new contacts, completely cold contacts. Third example is just one of our clients that used email to initiate the contact and stay in touch and get 2 cases from a new attorney contact. As you can see, just got 2 booked from a new attorney contact. And these examples are taken from our private client community where, I share some of the success stories that have been told to me, and our clients also share them directly. And you can see, here's an example of one that was shared directly by one of our clients. And here's yet another example of cold LinkedIn outreach success. One of our clients that reached out to an attorney via LinkedIn and now have business on the back of that. I mentioned that visibility usually is a supporting effort, but I just wanted to show you a couple of examples that you can also get business that way. So the first one here to the left is just one of our clients who simply posted on LinkedIn and was approached by an attorney and got pretty much immediate business on the back of that. The second example here is from one of our clients who posted on LinkedIn, and an attorney got in touch and liked the content that she had put out there. There was a conversation. They ended up staying in touch, and then eventually it led to business for her. This wasn't immediate, but it happened on the back of her posting on LinkedIn. Once you have an established connection, you're in pillar 3, you've done business with someone, then things can happen much quicker. So here's one example of one of our members who just did 1 single activity and got 7 new engagements pretty much immediately on the back of that. It's not something that you should expect from everything that you do, but it does happen. And here's another example of one of our clients. She had been struggling for a little while with just putting focus and attention to the program. And I got on a call with her, gave her some pointers. She implemented that and her calendar basically filled up. And here's her telling the story herself in one of our group calls. One thing that I just wanted to mention is you may ask, but Dan, surely there are differences because I'm based in Los Angeles or I'm in the countryside somewhere, I'm in a rural area. Will this work for me? And I can tell you right now that yes, it will work for you as well. Our system is battle tested in all kinds of locations, and I'll soon explain why. May also get the question that, my background is very specific, or the types of attorneys that I generally interact with is very specific. will this work for me? And the answer will again be, yes, it will work for you. And the simple explanation is that you're always interacting with other people. Everything that I've shown you here today revolves around engagement with other people, making those connections, cultivating those connections, staying top of mind. You're always going to have attorneys on the other end. And it doesn't really matter so much whether that attorney is in Boston or in New York or in Dallas. Naturally, there's going to be some nuances. If you are in a big city, maybe that's a big market compared to if you're in the countryside, it's going to be less business there. But in the big city, you're going to have more competition likely. And in the smaller city or town, you're going to have less competition. So there's always pros and cons, and there are differences, but for the most part, it doesn't matter so much. So hopefully you find what I've told you so far. We've really scratched the surface here in these 40 minutes. But if you're interested in more information, you can always join our clients, our community, and you can watch the video interviews that we've done with our clients. There's plenty of it. And this is just a selection of them. And sometimes, it's not all artificial or virtual. We meet in person. So I had a client, we actually met up in London, UK, and we had such a good time, not because we had so many beers, but we had a good time, and I forgot to take a selfie. So I had to do a little photo editing afterwards. So if you want to find out more and you want to access some free stuff, what you can do is go to performancelaws.com, click free group, then you end up on this page and request access to our free cultivation group. So now we're over 300 members. In this group, you can interact with other legal nurse consultants, you can ask questions, you can share stuff that you're doing, and you will get access to also some free content. So we share some webinar recordings. You get advice on how to set up your LinkedIn profile in less than 30 minutes. And we also just launched a new course on how to get more business, make new connections, and create better opportunities. So that looks a little bit like this. So you can see it follows the framework that we talked about here. How to plant the seeds, how to nurture the plants, how to harvest, and how to implement. All of this is completely free. We won't charge at all for it, and I think you're going to find it useful. But if you feel like you want fast results, or at least you want access to quality content as quickly as possible, then nothing beats joining our paid-for program, the cultivation system, or the contact cultivation system. That is our flagship program, and it contains everything that I talked about here today, but in a lot of granularity. The program itself consists of 4 parts. You've got access to online training, which is pre-recorded videos that will walk you through how to do everything here that we talked about today. You'll also get access to our client community, and there's a community for the paid for program, similar to the one that I just showed you, the free one. But here we don't restrict anything. We basically share everything that we have, all of the latest techniques that's working, and there's a lot of interaction and collaboration between our clients there. We also do collaboration calls. Those are usually of Q&A nature. So we get on, people ask me questions, but now people are starting to get to know everybody else. So there's a lot of interaction, and people pitch in and share very, very freely. Finally, you also get access to one-on-one strategy call with me. So this is your opportunity to really get a bespoke offer where I can listen to exactly your unique situation, and I can shape the program in the right way for you, point you in the right directions. So let's listen to what Karen has to say about what she found were the main benefits. The second question then, what would you then say are the biggest takeaways from working with me and my company and the program? What are the main benefits?
Other than your sparkling personality?
Well, right back at you.
Okay. I cannot, like the number one biggest thing with your program is that there's several, but the biggest takeaway from this all is that you teach us how to market to attorneys. You are not just a marketing program. You're not, I'm going to write. It's like, if our client base are attorneys and law firms, how do you get to those people? And when you look out there and even we see people coming in, oh, I'll help you market your business. Oh, I'll help you do this and that. You have that experience and that, man, I've learned so much about the psychology behind attorneys and right. And all these types of things. That is like, was the biggest, and it was the reason why I decided to do your program, because I looked at other programs and yours was 100%. How do you get business from attorneys? And so you came in with the experience of being able to say, hey, I'm going to teach you how to market and cultivate relationships with attorneys. And that to me sells, you know, I can't even say you're a program because it's not just a program. It's just like the entire thing, right? Is just how to learn more about who we want to get business from, like, right? Yeah. And so who is our market? Who are these individuals? So that is like number one big. I think secondly, it is going to be what you've done since I first came into the program several months ago is now you have that school platform. So now it's like, it's not just the program, but then you're in this community, and then we have monthly calls. And then this ties into another thing that's great, the accessibility to you, not that like we're in your living room because your wife would kill us, but it's like, it's like, but if we need a question answered or asked or go into the community and being like, hey, I'm having issues with this, and having the community, and your community they're just not legal nurses, but they're arbitrators or mediators, so you get all of that input on how to basically kind of build your business when it's focused on attorneys as your client base. So the new platform with the school platform, the mentorship, like the accessibility to the community, to you, and then having that very organized, structured program. Like, you know, I'm visual. I like my program. I love to walk through that. So I think people need to understand it's just not, you're not investing in a program to just sit there and do videos and do the work. You have to work the program. And other LNCs have called me and asked me, right, about your program. And I speak so highly of it. But what I do say is you have to be ready to work this program. You're not going to just sit there by osmosis, watch a video. They're actionable steps. You have to master and perform, and you have to do the scary things, right? Yeah. So, because remember how like I was scared to get on a phone call with an attorney?
Yeah, like, exactly. Feels like ages ago, eons ago.
Like, oh yeah, where I was just like, right, I know, but your children are growing up, Dan. Yeah, your children are growing up. So, I do have to say that like all of those
you
are
also
fantastic benefit. Yeah.
Sorry, but you also mentioned, because I don't want us to forget that you asked me to remind you, but additionally, and maybe that's point 3, you mentioned the implementation part. Like, you can have the greatest system in the world, but if you don't actually follow through on it, then nothing will happen. So tell us about that.
Okay, so this is another great thing, is that part of my ramp up and me being able to do the things and still have a life and focus on, right, the customer service, you know, part of the business was to do your steps. They're very teachable and trainable. So I found out very quickly that I was able to get help and teach and train someone who was able to do certain steps of this process. And he does it every week for me without fail. And so a lot of what you do initially is via LinkedIn and those types of things. So that's what's so great too, is that with implementation, know that as a solopreneur, which I feel like a lot of people are, it can seem overwhelming to say, okay, I'm trying to build a business and take care of clients, and now you want me to start a program and you want me to market and do all these steps.
Maybe you're even a nurse, you know, during the daytime or the weekends or the evenings.
Oh, heck yeah. Heck yeah. Well, I still work weekends at the bedside, right? So my weekends are taken up in patient care. A lot of nurses out there, they cannot leave their income stream to like come to legal nursing full time. So I was finding that for all those nurses out there and a lot of new LNCs and even established LNCs who want to still be expert witnesses, you still have to keep that bedside component, right? So you're trying to run and build a business and you're still working at the bedside. How do you do it all? I don't have children. I mean, I have a naked cat, but other people then have children, right? That they have to take care of. And I think the beauty of your program too is that you can take those components, very teachable and trainable, get somebody who can help and do that week after week after week for you. And so I think that's the beauty of it too. And with
fantastic. All right, I'm going to skip that and I am going to just show you this. This is an example of another client of ours. You can see Legal Nurse Consulting. This was from 12th of June. And she began in 2022 August with her Legal Nurse Consulting business. No prospects, no experience in marketing, no clients. Started with us in February. And she got her first client and first big case. It actually didn't take long. It actually took 4 or 5 weeks for her. Now she's got 30 prospects for more business and 2 attorneys looking to use her as testifying expert. So this is, you know, the power of doing things right. And final words here from Karen. Yeah. Well, Karen, I really, really enjoyed this conversation. I wish we could continue, but I guess the final question is, would you recommend the program to the people that are on the call today? The people who are on the call today, I wish I had more thumbs. If I had 1,000 thumbs, I'd be like moving them really fast. But absolutely, I would. And Dan, I even told you as well, you know, if anyone is on the fence, anybody just has any like questions coming from that, you know, I've you know, as I told you, you know, just my phone is always open to anyone who would maybe want to chat and talk a little bit more about your program, because I would absolutely recommend it for all the right reasons, right? I really appreciate that. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sure the people on the call as well. So who knows? Hopefully someone will take you up on that. For sure, for sure. And so, so you guys have a great time. Sorry I couldn't be there, but you're in incredible hands with Dan. That's all I have to say. All right. And that's pretty much it. If you want to have a chat, book a consultation, just go to our website, click contact up to the right, and then you can select the time in our calendar and we'll have a chat, see if we can help you. That brings us to the end, and we still have a few minutes for questions. So if you have anything on your mind whatsoever around what we've covered here today, then put that in the comment section or raise your hand and I can unmute you.